Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pro Formula Podcast. I'm your host, Tarek Shabazz. This podcast is all about helping professionals get those tools and gems to take themselves to the next level. You are going to want to tune into today's show because I got a heavyweight, Mr. Graffiti Johnson, with us today as we get rocking and rolling, y'all. So stick with us and we'll see you on the other side. Graffiti, what's up with you, baby?
What's happening, bro? Man? Peace, man. I'm moving around. How you doing, brother?
Man, it's a blessing, man. I appreciate you joining. I appreciate you spending some time with me, man. I am one of your biggest fans. I watch you. I love watching what it is that you're doing. So I just want to salute you, man, and tell you how much I appreciate you being here, man.
That's love, man. It's an honor being on your show, man. I seen your platform pop up, and I'm like, for one, the quality is what caught me. I'm like, this looks good, and it's just what you're talking about. That's my type of content that I like to consume. So it's an honor to be here.
I appreciate it, man. I think what I'm really trying to do is, a lot of times people will look at your life and they'll want to emulate that, or they want to try to get themselves to the next level, but they really don't know how to.
For sure.
And I don't think that it's a matter of people not wanting to share information as much as not knowing how to share. So I wanted to create an environment where I can get true bosses like yourself on here that you could talk to us about what we can do to take ourselves to the next level. So you being here, man, means so much. What you been up to these days, man?
Oh, man, a lot of multimedia, man. So
what is multimedia?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question. I was just speaking about this the other day. Multimedia to me is just being able to not master, but be able to work within different media environments. So right now the media landscape is so wild west. It's everything.
It's saturated.
Now you got YouTube, you got social media, you got podcasts, you got radio, TV, the traditional terrestrial platforms. And I think that's multimedia. You have to be able to juggle and multitask within media. So that's what I'm doing, man.
Where did this skill, talent, knowledge, where was this developed and honed?
I started out, anybody that knows my long-term story, I started out producing music. So got in the game, producing, making beats for, all the homies in the city making music. That led me into the graphic design world because I was always, hence my name, I was always nice with just doodling and doing graphics. Being within that realm, I realized, everybody needs cover art. All my DJ homies need mixtape covers, they need flyers for their parties. So I started learning Photoshop and all that. And that actually just landed me in that space for a very long time, accidentally. You know what I mean? Like I was the go-to flyer guy, the go-to designer around the city. Any and everybody got something from graffiti at the time. And it's lucrative. I was making very decent money, but I was working extremely too hard doing that. You know what I mean? Like anybody knows when Denver was in its clubbing heydays and it's, 3 nights a week of partying and, I'm making 6-7 flyers a day. It's good money, but it was just something that I wasn't really interested in doing long term. I kind of just landed there. So building up that Rolodex and that contact list of entertainers and just people around the city and influencers stuff, I've always been kind of good with conversation. You know what I mean? That's just the main thing I say. I say my face card is really what got me into these spaces. I've just been good with talking to people.
Yeah.
So my main goal was always to be on the radio. I always wanted to just do radio.
As like a DJ or what you want?
Radio host, you know what I mean? Yeah. So just being on air, that was my thing. I'm a music head to death. So just being on air, introducing songs, is still my goal. So I'm like, man, let me try out online radio, is what we was calling it back then. Long story short, man, went through some different platforms, started doing interviews, and I'm like, yeah, this is my pocket right here. That led me into podcasting, as we call it today. And, lots of spots in between there, but I'm sure we'll get to it.
Yeah, man. So really, the first thing I always like trying to pull out and dissect what it is you're saying so that the audience can grab that. It doesn't sound like you got any kind of formal training in this. Did you ever formally train in this, or how did you know that you had the talent to get started in that? That seems interesting to me.
There was no formal training. I went to college briefly, the Art Institute, for graphic design and marketing. I say briefly because it just wasn't for me, man. Like again, I was good at I am good at visual design and actual design, but that was never my goal. So I picked up more of the marketing aspect from school than the actual physical design. So just kind of why do certain things land with certain people? Why do certain visuals connect? And it's more of it's more of a human thing than anything. It's more of a mental thing than the actual skill of designing. It's connecting with people.
Yeah.
Hence why I call my show To Connect. But it was no formal training. Again, man, I wanted to be on the radio. Radio scene was locked up. Couldn't get on the radio. Couldn't get internships nowhere. The media scene in Denver is pretty closed off, especially for, us melanated folks. So it was never really a thing where I was following anybody and looking at their blueprint. It was just like, man, I kind of got to trailblaze and just do it, So anything that I was kind of seeing up in this head of mine, I'm like, man, how can I make this happen? Let me just get out here and try it. And so the good and bad of that is when you do things that's ahead of your time and ahead of the market, you feel like you're kind of lost. People ain't understanding.
Yeah.
They're not really seeing your vision the way you see it because it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So by the time the industry catches up to what you've been talking about, you got your flag planted, and then that's how we're here today.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is important is sometimes you're not going to have somebody that's going to be there and then be able to show you the way. You're going to have to get out there, pioneer it, trailblaze it, lead it yourself. But that could get lonely.
Oh, absolutely.
And it can get to a point where you're questioning, do I know what I'm talking about? Am I an expert in this field? Is this? So talk to us a little bit about like how you were able to continue to persevere in the darkness, if you will, because you didn't have somebody saying, no, bro, make this left right here.
Yeah.
I'll hit this right real quick.
Yeah, that's a great point, because it's always been the opposite, believe it or not. It's been people saying, man, that's crazy, or what you talking about? Like, how you gonna do that? You know what I mean? Nah, you gotta get on. Why don't you just go blah, blah. And of course, man, I'm a solo entrepreneur. I have them thoughts all the time, like, man, let me just go get a job, bro. I'm wilding. I should just go take this skill set and work somewhere. You know what I mean? But then it's just that thing in the back of your head, like, no, I know I'm right. You know what I mean? Y'all don't see it, but it's my vision for a reason. Like, it's my vision. You don't need to see my vision. So I think it's just that will, that drive, and that perseverance, man. And now I think I've matured and kind of just experienced so much out of life and professionalism that I am at a point where it's like, dog, you can't do this by yourself. Yeah. Like, you literally can't. You know what I mean? When I'm telling you I'm doing my podcast and I'm editing, I'm designing the covers, I'm marketing, I'm doing all this by myself, and I feel like I'm starting to hit a wall, because it's like you got to level up to the point where you start embracing team. And the hard part of that is you got to find the right team that has the right mindset. And of course, if you're driven the way I'm driven, you're gonna try to outwork everybody, but that's not the point. Yeah. You know what I mean? You want to match people where they are. And if you're the best videographer in the city and you're the best PR person in the city, let's put these powers together. I don't want to touch PR. You know what I mean? I don't want to touch video. You do that, and let's Voltron this system.
Yeah, I had one of my partners, Will. He always says, I'm an alpha, you an alpha, but if we working together, you be an alpha in your lane, I'll be an alpha in my lane, and let's move it forward. And I think sometimes, like you said, it's an ego thing where we may want to be the expert, or we may want to outwork somebody. And if that's your competitor mate, you should compete. We should be competing, but at the same time, we should be teammating and working together. You're at this point now where you're trying to bring people in. How has it been trying to let go? Because you do have creative control over the whole process.
Yeah.
You are super creative and hella creative. Yeah. How is it relinquishing that? Do you still find yourself wanting to hold on to it and not letting it go?
It's a struggle. It's an internal battle. But again, I think it comes with maturity, because I call it the gift and the curse of being talented. When you are talented at multiple things, you think you should just do multiple things because you can. And that's not the case, man. Like, just because I know how doesn't mean I should be the one doing it. So there are certain aspects where I'm like, you know what? Somebody might know this better than me. Somebody does know this better than me. Let me go ahead and let that go. But you got to be right with yourself to come to that. Because a lot of people just like, nah, I'm the best at what I do, so I'm going to do it. Nobody's going to do it like this.
What's it like getting right with yourself? Talk us through kind of when you're talking about getting right with yourself, because I think sometimes I think I can do it better than you.
Yeah.
Which you probably can do it better than many other people, but should you be the one doing it?
Right.
Talk to us a little bit about that process and what that's like.
I think it's just finding, when I say get right with yourself, it's literally just taking that time to kind of check in with yourself. This is something I did heavy during quarantine, 2020, where it's just like, I've been so grind, fast motion. Sometimes you got to step back and just look at, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? How am I doing it? What's the end goal for this? What's the purpose? What's the internal purpose? Because a lot of it is, I'm about to make $1 million off this. I'm about to be the top, blah, 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 in my lane. And that's really not what it is. So when you really look at what you're doing and why you're doing it, and if I'm laying the cards on the table and I'm like, man, I'm doing this to uplift voices and bring education and empower my people and those things versus I'm doing it for $1 or I'm doing it to be the best, this outweighs that. And so you gotta look at yourself like, okay, well, what am I doing that's hindering me from doing this part? And that could be that ego. That could be saying, man, nah, I'm not gonna let so-and-so do this better than me, or that dude's doing that, so I'm gonna do this. It's nah, sometimes, man, you gotta let go and just let it come together. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. I like that because I think it's true and it's vulnerable a little bit, because I think we live in this macho society that we've got to be the experts at everything. We got to know how to do everything. And I think, especially as black men, I could say I feel overwhelmed a lot.
A lot.
Damn, just saying that out loud is like crazy. Like I feel overwhelmed a lot, you know, and I don't sometimes know how to ask for help.
Yes.
So I think that as I'm listening to you, that's kind of what just came to my mind is like, but would you ask for help if you needed it?
That's major, man, because that's major. Like professionalism and all that aside, as black men, as you said, we don't know how to ask.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, and that's beyond working. That's just in general in life. You don't really know how to speak about internal struggles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there is times where I'm like, man, I know I need X, Y, Z, but I don't even know how to even bring that up. But then when you do, like you said, you say it out loud, and it's like, damn, 50 other people like, yeah, bro, I need.
Probably be ready to help.
Yeah, I've been trying to get with you, or damn, I need help too, man. What's up? And then that's how you bridge those gaps, and that's how you connect. Man.
I think when I was a kid, you know, I remember my mom. We always had the rule like, we going over to her homegirl's house, don't ask for nothing.
Yeah.
You know, mom would be like, don't ask for nothing. We get there about 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
What happens about 12 o'clock? That's lunchtime.
Yeah.
So she my mama friend go in there, she start making snacks and things up, and she'd be like, baby, y'all want something? And we'd look at my mom and be like, no, ma'am. Mm-hmm. She'd be like, y'all sure? Like, you sure you don't want nothing? Then they'll ask, you want something to drink? We downstairs playing hard. You want something to drink? And we'll be like, no, ma'am.
Know when you want something to drink.
But I think that was programmed into us.
It is, and it sticks with you.
And I didn't know that until recently when I was like, I was trying to figure out why don't I know how to ask for help? Mm-hmm. And I think it was like either I felt like I was being weak or I felt like I had never been able to.
Right.
That makes sense.
No,
I never even had permission to ask for help before.
Right.
And so that's something that I'm really trying to work on is like, how can I get some help? And I'll let you jump in just a second. But I also think that there's a component of it's like, I'm Tark. I'm supposed to know everything. Mm-hmm. My little homies is looking after me. My family's is looking up to me. The homies is expecting this from me. Yeah. If I don't have the answers, then who am I? You know? And so my identity is tied with my output.
Yep.
So now I put you catch that?
Yeah.
My identity is tied to my output. Mm-hmm. I'm identified by how he be putting in the work. He's the grinder. He'll do it all. When I really should have been like, this wasn't even worth it, because you said something just a second ago that I thought was so crazy. Like, how many times did you do a last second something for somebody that wasn't even worth it?
Had nothing to do with what I'm trying to reach.
It's nothing to do. It's not even related. And I think some of it is like, I don't want to be selfish.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't want the homies to think that I think I'm too good and I can't help out.
Exactly.
Am I touching?
Man, that's the realm. And so you hitting all the. I gotta unpack it, man, 'cause it was a few things that you said. The first thing was just that feeling overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
So I think we live in a culture and a society where we think it's necessary to be overwhelmed. We think grinding and nonstop working and I'll sleep when I die and all that. We think that's what you're supposed to do, and it's not. That mentality is toxic and it literally kills us. So I think for me, kind of what you said about my identity is tied to my output.
Yeah, man.
That connected because that's me. Like I'm the guy everybody calls for everything, whether it's family, whether it's the little homies, whether it's business. Everybody expects me to have the answers.
That's right.
So sometimes I do, I'm gonna figure out how to find it when that's not really my responsibility. You know what I mean?
But do you feel selfish? Do you
feel
guilty?
selfish, and that's those personal battles that I say, them internal struggles that you got to overcome, because I'm in a position right now, man, where it's like when I gave up flyer design and mixtape covers, like I told you, I got into that on accident. You know what I mean? I filled that void, realized that isn't where I want to stay, but I got trapped there for a while, and then I moved out of it. And now it's like when I'm saying, yo, I'm not doing none of that, and one of the homies be like, man, I know you're not doing none of that, but... And then I'll fuck around and do it and be like, come on, man, why you just said you're not doing that? But it's because I feel like I still owe something. And I think that's just us as people, bro. We
might
feel
have
like...
to do a whole another podcast
Yeah.
about survivor's remorse.
Yeah.
You got guilt that's
it's
hanging
guilt.
on you because you like, they look up to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm speaking for myself. I won't speak for you. I'm gonna
sure.
speak for myself. I feel like I got like people that'll look up to me. They'll ask me for things. I want to be the resident expert on everything that they need.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is it puts me in an uncomfortable place where it's like, now I'm digging into resources that I don't have. I'm using time that I don't have. I'm figuring out, I'm trying to get people connected with people that ain't really trying to be connected. So I can empathize. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you good.
I wanted to jump in on that one.
You good. That's perfect, because you think about that guilt, and it's like, why do I feel guilty? Because you'll do these things, and it's low-key taking advantage of you.
Yeah, man.
But that's one of the things I had to tell somebody the other day, man. Like, if you start a sentence with, I know I'm getting on your nerves, or I know you don't want, then why are you asking the question? Because you put me in a position where you know I got a big enough heart to do it anyway, and you putting me in a bad position. You know what I mean? I'm gonna tell you no, and it's, oh, graffiti changed, or I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna feel bad about myself because I broke my principles. So just don't even ask. You know what I mean? I hate to say it like that, but you know, if you really know me and you really know, you know, what I do and how I'm trying to transition and how I'm trying to progress in life, and you want to pull me back, then that's on you,
Maybe
man.
you just connect them next time.
Yeah, but
Maybe next time they're like, bro, I know you don't do the artwork no more.
yeah.
But I really need this. And then maybe your response should be, you're right, bro, I don't do it, but I'm going to get you connected with somebody, reach out to them, they do some dope work, and they could be able to help you. I don't know about their prices, I don't know about their turnaround time, but I know that they did some dope work, and I worked with them recently. And maybe that's a way that you can kind of start easing yourself out of this responsibility to your community. And yo, listen, we're not saying we don't want to serve our community, y'all. We're saying that we need to serve ourselves so that we can serve our community.
Exactly.
If I'm not serving me and I'm only serving you, I'm never going to ever feel fulfilled. And fulfillment is what I'm really trying to do. What you think about utilizing a strategy like that where you connect now?
So that's what I've actually been doing. So I've been reaching out to just young designers, and I've been trying to put them on. You know what I mean? It gets a little tricky because people kind of got used to my style, but I have found some cats that kind of do that. But then even with that, man, it goes back to what we were saying about that guilt and feeling that need to give back and then wondering why. Because if I'm saying I want to move on, it's really not even my responsibility. We're trying to build from that.
I feel you.
And I feel you. So let's equate it to, like, let's say.
I like that.
Let's say, man, let's say a corporate company, one of your favorite restaurants, right? They decide, you know what, we not selling hamburgers no more, we selling tacos. Damn. And you like, damn, man, I love y'all hamburgers. They not about to be like, hey, but
go up the street
and get their hamburgers. And I'm like, no, man, we sell tacos now. Go find some burgers. Ooh. You know what I mean? And we don't look at it like that because, again, we're so intertwined with our community that we feel bad, man. And then it doesn't help. We're not helping each other by not being real with each other. You know what I mean? We can't keep pulling each other back because you can't progress like that. And I'm not saying pull back in a negative way, but man, a lot of us come from a lot of things in the community that we aren't necessarily proud of.
Yeah, I don't want to be a part of that no more.
Yeah, and sometimes certain things keep you connected to that. So like when I'm saying, yo, I'm not a party promoter no more. I don't want to do parties. I want to do family events. I want to do upscale stuff. I'm saying that for a reason. I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm better than y'all, I can't come to the club no more. I'm saying that because that environment might trigger something that I'm trying to get away from me.
Come on.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So like.
That's powerful right there, bro.
And
it's for your own good.
It's for your own good.
They don't even know it. That you trying to stay away from yourself.
You're trying to stay away from yourself. And so there's no way to really word that. You'll get it if you get it.
Graffiti,
if you know, you know, right?
Oh man, we you locked in right now, bro. That's dope, man. I value that, and the reason I'm so like taken by that is because that's how I feel all the time.
Yeah.
I'm constantly feeling like I'm always giving. And I love to give, but I want to start giving what I want to give. And that's why I started this podcast, is because I want to help that person that is wanting to take themselves to another level, but they don't know how to. They don't know what tool they should use. They don't know what tools are available. Those are the people that I want to help. But people that just want to take, I'm not so interested in that anymore. And I used to be, and I'm going to be honest with you now that I'm being vulnerable, I didn't used to like that either, but I did it because I was guilty.
Yeah.
You know, I was guilty into being like, bro, I got to look out for the homie because he don't know how to do it. I'm the only one that really would know how to do something like that. So now that we're talking about what Graffiti loves, what do you love?
Oh, man.
Like right now, at this stage in the game, what do you want to have people hit you up for?
Yeah, so, okay, word it like that, because when you say, well, you love them, okay, my kids. You know what I mean? But when you put it like that, man, I'm knee-deep in just connecting through media. So uplifting and connecting my community through multimedia. If I had to elevator pitch what I do, and what that looks like is platforms like this. You know what I mean? Is platforms like the Connect. I'm more in a space where, sure, I like being the host and all that, but I'm more in a producer mindset from a standpoint of, yo, this person has talent and they're actually doing the work. This person has a small business that needs to be highlighted. This person has a voice that might not be heard. I have a platform to do that.
Okay.
So that's really where I'm at, man. I love doing that. As far as creatively, my creative title would be creative strategist. And that's just, you know, if you have a brand or a company and you're like, man, I need a logo, I need blah, blah, blah. I used to just be the designer that'd be like, all right, I'll do that. Now it's more so we'll sit, we'll have a consultation. I'll be like, hey, man, kind of learn you a little bit, learn your identity. Okay, these are the kind of colors that I see that connect with your blah, 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 blah. That's the actual creative side. You know, I'm still a creator at heart, but it's just the physical.
I like what you do is an elevated, more mature version of what it was. It's not. I'm not just creating the graphic for you. I'm building this brand, helping
brand
you build
packages, strategies, marketing strategies, and again, that goes back to what I said earlier. That's just human level connecting. You know what I mean? That's just experience and just lifestyle building, identity building. And a lot of us get caught up on, I'm gonna start a company. I need a logo. I need a logo because I need to put it on a hat and it's gonna look cool. But it's like, really, you gotta understand who you're trying to connect to, who's your market, why you're trying to connect to them. Yeah. What is in it for you when you connect to them, going back to what we just said. So that's just the actual, that's my realm right there.
I like it. So let me make sure I heard you right. So if I'm in this podcast space, and I'm like, bruh, my viewership ain't growing.
Right.
I could call you and you'd be like a strategist to help me build my brand.
Yeah.
Or you would be the one to help me get the editing and the connect, like just bring me closer a little bit.
Right. So there's a few different ways. So I am a co-owner of the Plug Podcast Agency. So that's that part where me and my partner Julius, if you're starting a podcast and you're just like, yo, I want to figure out how to monetize, or I want to figure out how to get distributed on these different platforms, we help you out with that. But then just as far as me with Graffiti Media, it's that actual brand identity. So maybe your viewership isn't growing. Like, being completely honest, I just started utilizing YouTube. So like if somebody's hitting me and they're like, yo, how do I get YouTube views, man? Like, I'm trying to figure that out too, fam. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you how you can get eyes on you. And I kind of spoke about this on a previous episode. I was talking about just personal branding and your own personal marketing. So I've been doing this for years without realizing I was doing it. And once I kind of keyed in on it, now I do it intentionally. You know what I mean? Like, so when someone thinks of you, how do they think you look? What comes to mind? You know what I'm saying? Like I said before, how would somebody draw you? So it's this is how we would do a consultation if you came to me about branding and identity. And it's just little things, right? So with me, I'm probably gonna have a black t-shirt or some type of black clothing.
That's your brand.
And a cap. You know what I mean? People know that. They think of Graffiti, they probably gonna be like, oh yeah, he be wearing black and a hat all the time or something like that. You know, the little chin strap, that's Graffiti. That's for two reasons. One, it's called, it's a phrase, it's called decision fatigue. So what this decision fatigue is, you'll see a lot of successful people wear kind of an outfit, a uniform. You think of Steve Jobs. First thing you think of, blue jeans, black turtleneck.
First person that came to my mind is is my dog. He ain't my dog, but the brother that be rocking the
19 Keys.
19 Keys.
19 Keys.
That's every time I see bro, he got his crown on.
Yep.
Every single time that I see him.
So it's two factors to that. There's decision fatigue, which a lot of creatives and successful people, I won't say suffer from, because it's kind of a good thing, where you feel like you'd have to wear a uniform because you're so busy throughout your day that you make decisions all the time. So your focus isn't on your fashion. You kind of just, I'm gonna throw on all black today because that's what I do. You take that decision fatigue where I probably got on some white sneakers, a black shirt. I know that. You put that into the personal branding and marketing side. If I'm gonna wear black every day because I'm too lazy to get super fresh, how am I gonna do it? I'm gonna wear a black t-shirt, I'm gonna wear a cap with intentional branding. So like the G for Graffiti, but it's also my sponsor, Good Chemistry. So it's intentional branding. Like you get that in people's face. And once you learn to do that, it just connects with people, you know what I mean? And then you take that a step further with personal branding, and it's how and what do you talk about on a daily basis. So if you look at my social media dating all the way back to like when I got on social media, you'll see it's positive quotes. It's like some jokes here and there. But everything has a tone and a narrative because I'm building a personal brand. Like, you know, you think of McDonald's, you think of red, yellow, happy, fast. You got to do that as a person. And a lot of us do it without knowing. So once you know and you could dial into it, you understand branding.
What does my brand say if I'm on social media every now and again? I'm like, I'll release a reel about my show. I'll do a little clip about my show. But then I ain't on for 2 weeks, then I get back on. What is that message given to my audience?
I think for that, it shows that you're not really too intentional about branding your personality. You're more so wanting to get the product out there. And that's something that I was stuck on before too. People would think I wasn't real. They would send me emails and get a design back, and like, I never even met this bro before. But when you're intentional about your personality, you're creating content, you're putting your face out there more, you're on social media as much as, you know, social media can be a gift and a curse. There's ways to be on there every day without being on there every day. So
scheduling, you mean like scheduling?
Scheduling, automating your posts, batch content. And these are all things that people catch on to. You know, like if I'm not posting in my main feed, you'll see I'm just posting a song that I'm listening to in my stories. Just something to let people know, oh, Graffiti's still here. This is on brand for Graffiti all the time. If I see you post a clip of your show, then you gone till the next episode comes out. It's like, all right, who is this dude? I'm not really connecting to you outside of your show. So that
So Graffiti, I think that you're speaking to me. I want to get some of this game on the other side of it. Y'all take a quick break with us. We'll be right back. I'm on the Pro Formula Podcast. I'm your host, Tark Shabazz. I'm with my man, Graffiti. We'll be right back.
This is Jamal with Print King 303. Check out my boy Tark's podcast, Pro Formula, at 8 o'clock on Wednesdays. If you want to get some of that business knowledge, check him out.
All right, man.
Yeah.
For myself.
Okay.
I'm going to be vulnerable and transparent in front of everybody, but don't come for me.
I got you.
Sometimes I watch the likes. Sometimes I like privacy. Like if I open up my Facebook right now, I'm going to have a gang of notifications. And that overwhelms me, bro. Like for real, I get so overwhelmed by the number of notifications and messages that I have that I'm not inspired to put out more or to respond to everybody's thing. Like, how do I overcome that mindset, one? And then two, and maybe it's like I just need to schedule it or something like that, because I find that even getting on, I feel like, oh my God, you've been a Cheesecake Factory, they got like 7 pages on the menu of food to order. I don't really know. It's like, give me a couple options and let me go with that, as opposed to having 7 pages. So I guess my direct question to you is, if I'm trying to really build up my brand on social media and I want to post a little bit more, but I also don't want to, like, I'm having lunch, I'm doing this, like that's too much to me sometimes.
I agree 100%. So honestly, man, like I'm the exact same way. So I'm an extremely private person. You know, I always say what you get on social media is what you get on social media. That's social media content. Every now and again, I'll show you my kids, my wife, because that's what I'm seeing every day. But you're not getting nothing else. And I'm the same way, man. It took me forever to actually even want to be on camera. Anybody that knows, like with my podcasting and all that, being a radio guy, I was always vocal. People be like, I like your voice. cool. I just got into the world of really taking pictures and being on camera and showing my face so much for that same reason. I don't really like Facebook and all that, bro. I really don't. But I get that that's my driving platform. That's my direct community engagement, all that. The good thing about what we do in the era that we do it in is you can automate everything. Batch your content, schedule it out, boom. The engagements we know drives up the algorithm. The more likes, the more comments. So whenever you see somebody comment, I instantly like it or say something back. The way around that is I would suggest hiring a social media manager.
Okay.
I know a lot of the people I reach out to be on my show, not so much the local, but like the more celebrity type people. I'm not talking to them. You shooting a DM, that's their people's people. Like, oh yeah, they're talking like them, but that ain't you. And that's what helps you. You know what I mean? We know it ain't the person, but it's a social media manager, man. That's a full-time job for a lot of people. That you hire them, they get on, they're engaging, they're commenting back. One of my biggest influences podcast-wise is Earn Your Leisure.
Love it.
And the way they do their system, man, is as soon as you DM, they send this link back, right? And it's like, all right, sign up for EYL, blah, blah, blah. You sign up, so no matter what you post, if you're tagging EYL or you're mentioning them, you get an automated response back from them. So I know it's not them talking to me, but at the same time, as a consumer, I'm like, oh, they actually care enough to say something back. I'm not just on here talking to some bots or whatever.
That was something that you just dropped that I want to make sure that they catch. When people send or engage with you and you don't engage back, they feel like, yo, this dude ain't even real.
Yeah.
Get engaged with your people.
Or that you ignoring them or something.
Yeah,
it could factor into those reasons, man. Like, I can't be on social media all day for mental health reasons, for one, and just I can't. So if you see a whole bunch of stuff happening in one day, I assure you that's probably scheduled out that way if it's content. Yeah. Again, like I said with Instagram, I'll pop on, I listen to music all day, so I'll just share a link of this is the song I'm listening to, boom. It's not really my face. I'm not really hey guys, this is me at Starbucks today. I've never been that person.
So you just gonna put the song up?
I'll put the song up, and that's kind of been, and not saying that you needed a song particular, but if there's something that you do in your everyday life anyways, just go ahead and just share it kind of just as a heat check, like I'm still here, I'm active.
How would somebody hire you? Like, what services do you offer a business? Are you providing social media management? Do you know social media managers, or are you really just helping to develop a strategy that they can really execute on?
Helping develop a strategy. So I'm looking to grow into the point with Graffiti Media where it is, we'll have contracted social media managers, we'll have videographers, photographers. I do have my network of people that I can reach out to and connect people, but it's not just an established company where, you reach out to me, I got this person on hand. Gotcha. It's more so giving you that template, kind of like what we're doing now. Maybe you didn't know about how to batch content, or maybe you didn't know about personal branding, or maybe you just didn't even know how to set up a social media account. And there's a lot of people like that. That's what I actually offer.
Yeah. I want to switch gears and go into this segment. I call it the Pro Tips. This segment is all about providing practical, tangible tips to professionals that maybe we can use across multi-industries. It's not specific to one industry or another, but I'd like this to be about personal branding. Is that cool with you?
That's perfect.
All right. So when somebody is thinking about their personal brand, what are some things that they should be mindful of that they're giving off in their branding, whether that's their social media that they're posting or whatever? Like, what is your personal brand at the end of the day?
Right. So the key word is identity. That's why I like that you used that word, because you have to think, what do you already like? What is natural for you? What do you already enjoy doing? What feels good, so it doesn't feel forced or a fake image. You see a lot of people, especially now in the influencer and content creator world, where they got to do what's trending or what's hot, and then that ain't trending tomorrow. Yeah. And now you're that character because you was the guy that was doing X, Y, Z. What already feels good to you? Like when I said, be authentic. So like when I say I listen to music all day, man, people equate that to my brand because that's what I do. What do you wear that's comfortable already? Do that. You kind of emphasize who you already are and maximize that so it is entertaining to people, because at the end of the day, people still do want to be entertained. If I just showed y'all my everyday for real life with me and my kids and stuff, they're like, all right, Graffiti gang. So you highlight the points of your life that may entertain people that are natural to you and not fake.
I love that. I got a question on so what if you got two people inside of you. Like, you got this professional person, because I work in corporate America. I got this professional gig. I'm, high up in this high healthcare organization, but then I'm still in the community with my people.
For sure.
I really love my people side more.
Yeah.
But the professional side is
Yeah.
how I make my money. Like,
I get it.
What's your advice for that?
Something like that, I think you're doing it right now. And that's the beauty of podcasting, man. I have the privilege of speaking outside of corporate America just because
You ain't part of it yet.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I will say that's a dilemma for a lot of people. And I think when you find yourself trying to juggle the two, you know in your heart which one matters more to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A job is a job. And a lot of people don't want to look at the reality of that. Like, this is what pays the bills. And that's something I want to mention too, man, because a lot of people look at what I say and the content I share, and I big up being an entrepreneur and I big up ownership and all that for obvious reasons, but nothing wrong with working.
Yeah.
You need money.
For sure.
You know what I mean? But your job is what provides your income. Now, your passion, your purpose in life might not necessarily be a job.
Yeah.
And actually, I would advise that you don't make it a job because it takes the fun out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Man, I don't know if you remember, I was coaching football, I was coaching basketball, heavy on the scene with that.
Yeah.
And I really just realized my brand is leadership.
There you go.
And inspiration and motivation. And so I need to start putting out content that's inspiring.
There you go.
I mean, I'm literally having a breakthrough as I'm sitting here with you. I'm like, I probably need to put out more content, because I get inspired while watching like Eric Thomas. E.T. is like, I get fired up watching bro. So I probably need to like repost some of that type of content or put out more of that content, because I really love that part of the business.
There you go.
That side I'm really, really big on. So I appreciate that. I think
that's what it is. And you got to come to that within yourself and think about that. And that goes back to what we were saying, man. When you're saying you're the go-to, you're the on-call person for everybody, it's because you're a leader.
Yeah.
Sometimes that content isn't necessarily your content that you're going to be sharing.
Yeah.
One of the creators I love is David Shands, man.
That's my dog.
I share David Shands all the time because I'm like, that's what I be thinking.
Yeah.
I ain't have to sit here and create that content. I just reshare it, and people will engage and be like, you're right, yeah. It's not my content, but that's my morals and my mindset too. So, that's all you got to do.
So for somebody, like, how important is it that you get around somebody that has that experience or that knowledge? Like David Shands, when I was thinking about getting into the podcast, I went on the podcast summit. I went to Miami, went to the podcast summit. I'm in this not little, but I'm in a podcast group with him. I meet with them once a month. We kick it. I'm talking to other podcasters. I'm learning. How important is it that you tap into somebody that's an expert, that's in this industry, that you can kind of like get some game from and get some information from?
It's vital, man. It's so, it's good to hear you say that you're in podcast groups and you go to these summits and conferences, because that's one of my pet peeves with the podcasting world specifically.
Yeah.
It's one of them things now where, any and everybody can and does have a podcast, which not knocking, but if you really want to call yourself a professional at anything, you got to immerse yourself in the world of where the professionals are.
Okay.
So living in Denver, that's kind of a struggle for me. So I made it intentional that I just place myself in the circles that I feel like I belong in. Yeah. So I go to the Revolt Summits, I go to Invest Fest, I go to these things where, I'm likely to run into Wallow and Charlemagne and all these people that I kind of see myself within that circle. So even if they're not intentionally like you're direct, I can call you whatever, you're around that energy. You might meet somebody within one of them crowds that does have that professional, mindset, or does have some skills that you don't have, and y'all can connect. So basically what I'm saying is put yourself in the environment that you feel like you belong in. Yeah. So a lot of us get lost and be like, oh man, people ain't messing with me, they sleeping on me. And that's kind of that local mindset. But I know there's very few of us in this space in my proximity in Denver that are kind of on the level of thinking that we're on with this. So I got to move around and be around the people that do that.
Yeah. What do you think about this podcast space and What are your thoughts on somebody that's wanting to start a podcast or wanting to get going in the podcast? What are some things that you think they should be doing, or some things that you like, man, you got to have this or else don't even waste your time?
Man, I love that question. Somebody commented the other day, I said something and they were like, man, you like the podcast gatekeeper in Denver. Like, we can't start a podcast unless we clear it with graffiti.
I like that.
And I'm like, nah, man, it's just one of them things. I'm very passionate about this. And so I want to make sure people understand, man, my key thing is a podcast is an extension of your personal brand, right? So now we see everybody thinking they can just hop into podcasting when it's not easy.
Wow.
And so, I think podcasting is kind of the evolution after social media. You got a voice on social media. You can only do so much in 140 characters. Let me get on a microphone and talk. Sure, I encourage you to do that if you have the brand, the following, and everything that we spoke on prior to do that. Otherwise, you're just gonna be out here swimming in these waters and wondering why you're not getting clicks and nobody's listening.
If you don't have followers, you shouldn't do it?
Not if you don't have followers. If you don't have a personal brand that you already established or you're trying to establish, you shouldn't just do a podcast.
You gotta have some brand clarity, y'all. That's what I'm hearing them talk about. You gotta have brand clarity. Where are you trying to go? What do you see yourself doing? And people also, I think what I'm hearing, you correct me if I'm wrong, he's also saying you have got to have some relevance or some credibility in that field. And people gotta think, when they think about me and this is the pro formula, they gotta think, well, he's professional. He's got a otherwise it wouldn't. Yeah. It doesn't associate.
Yeah, and that's not to say that you can't. Again, anybody can do anything that they want to, but I see that with a lot of to be successful. I see that with a lot of creators. They get upset because this isn't hitting away, and it's because you started it because you've seen everybody else doing it, and you thought you should do it. And you didn't have any kind of pro formula behind that. You know what I mean? So one of the biggest things, people hit me and be like, man, how do I get paid from podcasting? And if that's the first question, I automatically be like, don't start a podcast, bro.
You're in the wrong business.
You're in the wrong business. It's just like if you're a rapper and you're like, man, I'm in this to make $1 million. Okay.
Or make a hit song.
Come on, man. But with podcasting, you can't just be like, all right, I'm gonna get, for one, podcasts don't have an exact number. Podcast streams the way music does, you could at least get on Spotify and say, if I get X amount of listens, I get X amount of cents. Can't do that with podcasts. There's no number attached to it, right?
True. So
that's already one out the door. If you don't know the audience you're trying to reach or the content you're trying to make, you don't know what type of sponsors you're trying to reach or, their audience. So you can't get with a sponsor. You gotta focus on your content, your audience, and your brand, man.
So, somebody told me, they said, don't worry about the number of likes, worry about your content. If your content is dope, you're gonna get the people that are gonna follow your shows, you're gonna get on. But if you're putting out white content, it doesn't even matter.
Dope sells itself, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sells itself, but you got to know who you're selling to. And I have been successful at securing sponsors. Again, shouts to Good Chemistry. But
shout out Good Chemistry.
Yeah. Shouts to Good Chemistry. But that's for a reason. I have an audience that I've built that they connect to, and I have a platform for them to reach it. It's just like if you're watching the Super Bowl, Doritos knows that people that watch football eat Doritos.
They gonna eat some chips during that game. They got some dip going.
Come on, man. So they're speaking to that audience. Yeah. If you just be like, man, I'm gonna turn on a mic and I'm just gonna talk to the homies and we're gonna kick it. Where's the audience for a sponsor? There might be, but which sponsor? Yeah. So you got to know these type of things. Not
being specific to podcasting, but just sponsorships in general. Mm-hmm. What are maybe one or two keys that you have for developing brand sponsorships?
The big thing, man, is, again, knowing how to present why you're useful to that brand. So there's a few different ways of doing it. Some brands are just purely interested in numbers. You got X amount of reach. We're going to reach these people. We're going to use your platform. And that's kind of where you just get your generic, what they call CPM, click per minute. You'll hear them on a lot of podcasts. Like, I don't want to throw any of them out in case they want to throw me some money. But you'll hear those. It's just like, oh, you reaching 50,000 listeners a week? Boom, we're going to hop on there. Versus a sponsor like Good Chemistry, or for me, like First Bank. These are personal relationships that I've built because they actually see the content. They see the engagement, not necessarily from a number standpoint, but the impact I'm having directly with people as Graffiti. So they're like, let me attach myself to what you're doing because we actually morally work with it.
Are they reaching out to you? Or are you reaching out to them? Is this how does that, like, how when you're trying to obtain a sponsor,
Yeah.
are you reaching out saying, hey, this is what I'm interested, this is what my following looks like, this is what I do? Or are people saying, man, I saw that and I want to get be a part of it?
If you're lucky and you're doing the work, they'll find you. That happened a few times, but really, man, it's sales. That's the business side of it. That's another part of developing team because you do need a sales team. When you're watching these bigger podcasts and you see they're all sponsored by these sports betting apps and all these things, there's somebody on the back end selling. It's a job, man. They're actually selling for you. They have these pitch packets put together. So podcasters, I would highly recommend that you have a media kit and a pitch deck for your show.
That's right.
And I'll break that down for you to outline who you are as a host, what your show is about, the type of content, maybe some of your most popular episodes. Then you put the reach that you have on all social media platforms, and then you break it down per demographic. So if you know your show reaches 35-year-old Black women or whatever, boom, break that down. And then pitch that to a sponsor that you feel would fit that demographic. So it's a little bit more than just hitting the DMs like, hey, I have a show, I'm popular, let me get some money. It's a whole breakdown and formula, and a lot of us don't know that.
If somebody was trying to develop a pitch deck or really develop sponsorship relationships, is that something that you can help navigate and steer people towards?
Yeah, so that's where the plug agency comes in.
And if you ain't noticed, Graffiti, I'm trying to continue to help people know how they can get in contact with
Absolutely.
you. Because it's really important, y'all, that we have somebody like this mega talented person here in our city in Denver, Colorado. Right. I'm in Orlando, Florida, but I'm still calling myself from Denver. That is a wealth of resource. And guess what I did? I reached out to him in the DM. I'm like, bro, what's up? I want to get on. I stayed connected with what he's got going on social media wise, but you got to just kind of reach out. Is that a service that you're willing to offer people that are like, hey, I need to learn how to get some sponsorship. Can you give me a training or a course or things like that? Are those things you're trying to get into?
Absolutely. And so I'm glad you got me here because it's rare that I kind of get to explain like the different things I got going on. Because a lot of people just see and they're like, man, you got your hands in a lot of stuff, but it's all intentional. So with Graffiti Media, if you want to reach out, get your brand right, get your creative services as far as like, how do I get brand identity? What's the actual visual brand and packaging? That's what I do with Graffiti Media. As far as podcasting, that's the plug-agency.com. You'll go on there. We got different services, different things we offer. So you say, hey, I need my podcast edited, or hey, I want to learn how to pitch to sponsors, blah, blah, blah. We got a whole network within that that goes over, my partner Julius looks that over. Boom, that's the plug. And then just outside of that, man, just me as Graffiti, just as somebody in the community, man, I'm always open to just listening. Like I'm not to the point where somebody fake is in my DMs. That's me. So if you reach out and you're like, hey, man, I want you on my show, I'm going to check you out if I'm not already familiar. And I'm always open, man, because I do feel like we need to do this. We have to do this. You know what I mean? Like we got to share a game. And a lot of people get to the point where they feel like they're up here and it's like, nah, you got to catch me up here. And like, nah, man, like. I
think sometimes, man, it's, you got that Kendrick Lamar song that always jumps in my mind, Black Boy Fly.
Yeah.
Where he was just saying, I was scared. I used to be jealous of Aaron Aflalo.
Yeah.
Because if Aaron Aflalo gonna boom, then I know nobody in our neighborhood booms. So
nobody else is gonna do it.
So it's almost like we come from this, I call it a scarcity mentality, as opposed to an abundant mentality, where the abundance says there's enough for Graffiti, there's enough for Tark, there's enough for Derry, there's enough for all of us. Where sometimes I think we come from this this scarcity mentality that says if Graffiti booms, then I know I can't boom, so I gotta race Graffiti, and I gotta try to box him out so that I can get position and break position with him. So how do we break through that? So that is it what we're doing right now?
It's what we're doing right now, man. And we got to keep pushing that message. So with me, everybody knows, man, I'm open to collaborate if it makes sense brand wise. Yeah. So I don't want to just throw it out there like, yeah, I'm gonna do whatever y'all ask me, because no, some stuff doesn't align with my brand, and that's okay, because that's your lane. And I think we have to understand how to take that with a grain of salt and not be offended.
Don't take it personal.
Don't take it personal, man. Yeah. Don't take it personal. If you do this and I do this, you do that and I do that. Yeah. But the thing is, we can still work in a manner where it works. And that's where podcasting and the plug agency and network come in, because You got a podcast, I got a podcast, he got a podcast. All right, who you talking to on yours? What's your angle? What's your niche? What's your niche? All right, might run a little parallel, but it's all good because we're on the same network.
That's right.
And then from a monetization standpoint, it's like, okay, you do this many numbers with that audience, I do this many numbers, and we're even stronger because it's like now we're pitching to a sponsor like this network gets X thousand listens every day versus this show, and we be all on these different silos.
Is the plug a network?
It is. So the plug is a network and an agency. The network we're still trying to build out for that reason because you run into a lot of creators that aren't quite there yet.
Yeah.
That you got to get to that point.
But you look at Earn Your Leisure podcast. I mean, their network.
Their network.
Their network. I mean, 19 Keys is a part of the Earn Your Leisure network.
That's by design.
And you starting to look at organizations and agencies are going to these big they're going to the plug and they're going to these other networks the same way that an ESPN or an ABC or a TNT works. So
And they're buying them.
I want you to get yours going and then figure out how I can become a part of the network because those are like for me, I genuinely want, if one person watched this and they was like, yo, Graffiti dropped so much knowledge on me and I was able to start it and I opened this up and I was able to move it, I won.
Yeah.
Money part, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be taken care of. Financially, I'm straight.
Right.
But I love how it feels to see people get put on and how to see them grow, man.
And then think if we moving together, like
that'd be fly.
On a community level, just man, we moving together. But on that professional level, what you're saying, if from podcaster to podcaster, if you really look at the landscape of the industry right now, pay attention to what they're doing, man. You'll see there's a logo next to most of these podcasts. It's a network. You know, you look at Shannon Sharp and you see Volume Sports sponsored by DraftKings, and then podcasts you might like, and they all on Volume Sports. You know what I mean? That's intentional because Spotify and
Around the Horn was Around the Horn. Pardon the Interruption.
all in it.
Yeah, what we watch every day, Sports Center.
Yeah.
Those are shows on the network.
And,
that's what you're talking
and
about.
leaders in their industry get it. So Joe Budden Network.
Exactly.
If you look at Earn Your Leisure, they don't even say Earn Your Leisure podcast because Earn Your Leisure is the network.
That's right.
It's their show is Assets Over Liabilities, Market Mondays.
Yeah.
That's the network. And so when you think with that mind state, like, oh man, even if you are a competitive person, because we all got that little competitiveness. I'll see somebody does, like, damn, I was just finna do that interview too. But then I think about it like, I'm still gonna do that interview because if this was New York, everybody's gonna go to Hot 97, they're gonna go to Power 105, they're gonna run that course. And we have to develop that mentality like, all right, man, you check in with me, make sure you go check in with Pro Formula, blah, 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 because these are the networks you should be reaching.
And we should be eating together.
And then we eat together because it all comes back to the same table.
You're getting some money. And
come on, man.
I should have an ad running on your show. You should have an ad running on mine where we're doing that consistently where I'm promoting your show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, check it. Matter of fact, we're going to do that before you leave. We're going to get you an ad put on and I'm going to start running one for you.
Yeah.
Because we got to stop talking about stuff and we got to just.
Same, man. I'll do the same. And I'll do the same.
Phase, for sure. All right, this last segment, y'all, is called Settles the Score. And this is my favorite segment because what I really want to do is I want to help you understand the habits of people like Graffiti, highly successful professionals. What are they doing? How do they think? All right, so you down to go to this with me?
I'm down.
It's a this or that kind of a conversation. I got to say this because everybody want to say both. I'm going to ask a question like both. No, you got to give me one or the other. So here we go. Would you rather be the mentor or the mentee?
The mentee.
You rather be the mentee?
Yeah.
I'm feeling like I'm getting good questions because every time I ask, they're like,
Yeah.
that's a deep one.
I can't answer that.
Here we go. Number 2, what network do you value most? Is it your personal network or your professional network?
Personal for sure.
Your personal network has more value to you than your professional network.
Absolutely.
All right. Are you charged, energy-wise, are you charged by being alone or are you charged by being around others?
Charged by.
Like, do you get energized because you're hanging out with others or are you getting energy when you're by yourself?
Oh, definitely by others. Yeah.
So there we
Be
go.
in proximity with the creatives like we were saying.
Got you, okay. Do you attribute your success to the higher power or to your personal determination?
That's deep. My bad if I got to think on it, man. I got to process because the personal determination, I'm not a super religious person, but I am a spiritual person and I believe in, higher powers, energy, all that. I do feel like that self-determination comes from a higher power, so the answer got to be higher power.
That's one of my favorite questions, man. Are you an early riser or are you a late nighter?
I'm a late nighter. I've been trying to become an early riser because I get more done when I wake up early, but I feel like nighttime is just so much more peaceful and my creativity kicks in when everybody's...
Beast at night.
Yeah, that's when my creativity
I try
starts
my
flowing.
hardest to work in the morning.
Yeah.
Like in a perfect world, I wouldn't wake up till 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Straight up, because I wouldn't have went to bed till probably 2:30. And it ain't like I'm like listening to music. I'm like watching something. I'm like I get so creative.
Yeah, I'm in my zone at
Yeah,
nighttime.
me too, bro.
Yeah.
I can't really. My mind ain't all the way woke up in the morning. But that's why I like to ask that question. Are you a write your goals down kind of guy, or are you a go with the flow kind of guy?
I write them down, but I'm not. Something I'm working on. I'm not very structured schedule-wise. I write everything down. I outline everything. I'm a very detailed person, but I go off the whim all the time. So I guess go with the flow.
He's a go with the flow. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to work independently or as a part of a group or a team?
I preferred to work independently, but now I rather work with a team.
I low key think Graffiti is an introvert that is forced to be in the extrovert
Oh,
world.
absolutely.
Just listening to your response, looking
Absolutely.
at how you like even process the question, you strike me as somebody that's like, I'll do this because we need to, but like I can be in my own lane,
Absolutely.
beasting out, doing my own thing. But I hear that you're trying to transition, so I'm gonna give you credit for that. He said on that one he'd rather work as a part of a group, but I know that he really would prefer to be by himself. But I'm gonna let him use that answer. All right. Do you prefer to get a great deal, or do you prefer to give a great deal?
I'm careful about how I answer this because the giving a great deal thing is how you get taken advantage of that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But also, who doesn't prefer a good deal? You know what I mean? Give me a good deal. But I'm always pay you what you're worth. But yeah, man, if you want to give me a deal, go ahead.
Give Graffiti a good deal. That's what's
Show
up.
some love, man.
Graffiti likes a great deal, y'all. Who don't like a great
Who
deal?
don't like a great deal?
Everybody be like, I like to give. I think sometimes when we ask these questions, people are answering it based on who they want to be or what they wish they could be.
Yeah,
It's like, I appreciate your honesty.
Real talk, sometimes the price is just the price, man. It's the price for a reason.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So while you're spending time with your family, is your phone on or is it off?
It's on, but I'm not paying attention to it. And that's something I'm very intentional about now. I got my screen time set. Sometimes I'll just leave my phone upstairs because it is, especially as a father, that's one of my biggest things, man. I want to be present. I never want to be, they say the only person that remembers that you worked all day was your kids. You know, 20 years from now, your job ain't going to remember that you did that overtime, but your kids will.
This man, Graffiti, that's dope.
It's real, though, when you think about it, man.
And I don't want to get off subject, but I just want to say to that point, I like to brag to my kids about how much I work, but they use that against me.
Yeah.
Like, he was always working. I'm thinking that's something that they'd be proud of, but they don't look at that as something positive.
It's two-sided because I always work from home and I always been an entrepreneur, so my kids physically see me working. But there's a difference between seeing that work ethic and seeing me working. Like, oh, Dad got his own business, I can get my own business. That's inspiring.
For sure.
Versus now I set up my office, so if I'm in the office, Dad is working. Yeah. If I'm on the couch, I don't got the laptop with me no more. Like, you know what I mean? Saying like knowing the difference, I'm at work versus I'm with y'all.
So really, I'm gonna say with that, I'm gonna say your phone is off.
My phone's off.
Because even though your phone might be on, it's not with you. It's upstairs. You ain't paying attention to it.
Yeah, I'm dialed out of the outside world with that, man.
I love it. Last one. Is the knowledge that you have, is that attributed to like your natural talent, or is that more like you are study and research kind of person?
And you said we can't say both, huh?
Which one is more prevalent? Is it your natural talent, or is it like, yo, I've been studying, I've been researching, and studying and research this day could be podcasting, YouTube, and you know, that kind of thing.
I'm gonna say natural talent because a lot of what I do is a gift from the higher power, and I have to recognize that. I got into a back and forth, a friendly back and forth with one of my peers, literally yesterday about this, that some things are just gifts, bro. Like you can't teach certain things. Now, I can study, I can learn to do things, but I got to have that drive within myself to even want to pick up the book to look at it.
Yeah.
So that's a God-given talent.
That's to settle the score with my man Graffiti, man. Graffiti, I appreciate that. For the guests that are tuning into the show, tell them how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, man.
And tell them why they should get a hold of you.
Absolutely. So it's That's Graffiti, at That's Graffiti, across the board, YouTube, Instagram, anything that you could think of, man, Cash App, all of that is at That's Graffiti. That's how you get a hold of me. Personally, like I said, I'm at the point now, if you hit it, you talking to me. That'sgraffiti.com. That's going to give you more information about me, a lot of the services that I offer. You should reach out to me so we can connect, man. Have these conversations, have these one-on-ones. If you do need creative services, got you. The Connect podcast on all podcast platforms. Check me out on YouTube. I'm really trying to start utilizing YouTube a little bit more. If you're talking about starting a podcast or you have a podcast and you're thinking about joining the network or you want to monetize, that's the plug-agency.com. Yeah, man.
For the Connect, when do the shows drop? Are you doing a weekly show? Like, what is?
Thank you, because I always forget
No,
that.
it's all good. I'm here to help.
Yeah. The Connect with Graffiti new episodes drop Tuesdays, 12 p.m. You can get the audio Tuesday mornings. I'll drop at 6 a.m. for the audio. The videos drop on YouTube and on Facebook Live 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, y'all. There you have it with my man Graffiti. I hope that you all enjoyed that information, and I hope that you all are able to apply that to your personal brand. I want to just thank you for your time today, brother. You was a real blessing.
Thank you, man. I want to give you your flowers too, because again, I see that you are a professional in your space. I think these conversations and these type of platforms are vital, man. Like a lot of us, and I can speak for me. I might be able to speak for you too, especially when we're the host or we're kind of the face of something. Yeah. We don't really get to get in our bag about us like that. So I like to be able to do this because a lot of people see me, but they don't really know what I do.
That's right.
It's not really the place to do that on my show because it's about
bragging about you. You really want to talk about the guest.
So to be able to have a platform to even be invited, man, because a lot of times like people they hit me up to be on my show, but you know they don't hit me up to be on there. So I got to show love when you do that, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, y'all. There you have it. I'm your host, Tarek Shabazz. Catch us Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We in this thing, y'all. Thank you. Peace.